It was blinking though. Is that normal? Hello and welcome back to another episode of Storytime with Moto. Today, I hope you find this episode especially fruitful because we're talking about a beginner's guide to buying sake. We appreciate that as a beginner to this world, buying sake may seem like a daunting task. If you don't speak Japanese, then the labels may seem like hieroglyphics to you. There's no apps like Vivino like in the wine world where you just scan a label and it tells you everything. Mind you, if you are shopping from our website, then we always give 3 descriptive words as tasting notes as to what the sake will taste like. And we always have a 1-line description about something that makes that sake unique. But perhaps maybe you're planning a trip to Japan, finally when this lockdown is behind us and we're allowed to travel freely again, and you want to take that as your opportunity to buy some sake, which you should. There's so much more sake available in Japan, and that's a great opportunity to go on a sake shopping spree. But at that point, you definitely won't be having English tasting notes or descriptions or anything of that matter. So stay tuned for this episode and learn how you could go about buying sake with confidence. What was the very first sake you ever purchased? Do you remember?
I was about to go on a date. Just did the research.
Yeah. Wow.
Online.
Yeah.
Know about the grade. Know about like what kind of style I want to go with.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh wow. This is a guy that does his research before a date. Did the date go well? I didn't do so much research. The first sake I bought was like kind of a very big brand, so I just went by branding. Later on when I knew more about sake, I knew which sake to buy. So definitely knowledge is power. But just stay tuned. The next 3 recommendations hopefully will help you out. So recommendation number 1 is to purchase a Ginjo or Daiginjo style of sake. These essentially are more elegant, refined, fruity, floral styles of sake. And why I recommend these styles to you guys is that probably you are used to drinking wine. And especially white wine is very similar to this Ginjo and Daiginjo style. It's very fruity, floral, and even the experience of drinking these styles, you could drink them in a white wine glass, preferably chilled. And even in terms of food pairings, they tend to be, you could follow the same guidelines as when pairing with white wine. So, a lot of vegetables or seafood. You can even do some meats, but nothing too gamey or with too rich of a sauce. So probably if you're spending money on a bottle of sake and you're kind of afraid, oh, what if I don't like it? I don't want to splurge on something I'm not gonna like. If you purchase a Ginjo or a Daiginjo style of sake, either for yourself or someone who's new to the world of sake, you probably won't be disappointed with the flavor because it's going to be something very suited to your palate as a wine drinker yourself. Mind you, there are differences as to Ginjo and Daiginjo. Different breweries have their own interpretation of how they want to brew that sake, but more or less Ginjo or Daiginjo styles tend to be more on the refined, elegant style. Did you on your date buy a Ginjo or Daiginjo? Yeah.
Of
course, exactly. It's a great gateway into drinking sake. Recommendation number 2 is to go for a nama sake. Nama means unpasteurized and sake is sake, so unpasteurized sake. Why we recommend this style of sake is because it's a very spritzy, vibrant kind of sake. And who doesn't like something that's very thirst-quenching, vibrant? I think that's a type of alcoholic beverage we all like to enjoy, especially right now in the summer months. We've been blessed with really beautiful weather recently here in the UK, and the best thing on a hot summer's day is you're probably used to reaching for a sparkling wine or a rosé or maybe like an IPA or something along those lines, but a namazake could be the replacement for you in terms of within the sake world. This sake is something that I wanted to highlight. It ticks off our first and second recommendation. So this one is called Shinomine Omachi Junmai Daiginjo. It's made by Chiyo Brewery in Nara Prefecture. So hopefully you recognize the word Daiginjo. So it is a very elegant brew. You have lots of fruity notes of things like limes and lemons and lychees. It's all the floral components are there as well, lilies, elderflower. But it's also a namazake, so it's very fresh as well. One thing that's very unique about this particular sake is that it's made with Omachi rice. Omachi is the oldest strain of sake-specific rice. So this Omachi rice tends to give sake a depth, really characteristic style. So this Omachi rice beautifully balances out all the fresh and fruity aromas and flavors that I described earlier. So I think we love recommending this sake to a lot of our customers. Whenever they ask us, which sake should I go for? We usually tend to recommend this one. It's a really good one. Our third and final recommendation is to go for a sweet style of sake. Again, our audience perhaps is used to drinking sweet wines, ports, either as a digestif, with your cheese, with dessert. So a sweet style of sake would be a very natural transition. In Japanese, the word for sweet sake is called Kijoshu. If you have a very good quality Kijoshu, then the sweetness and the acidity will be in perfect balance. This sake over here is another example of a Kijoshu. It's made by Raifuku Brewery in Ibaraki Prefecture, and it's called Mellow to describe its beautiful texture. It's very silky and smooth and soft. It tastes of marmalades and apricots, so the acidity and the sweetness are in perfect harmony. This is one that, like you would with a sauterne or some other sweet wine, you could have with ice cream, you could have with cheeses, you could have on its own. It's very, very delicious. Which one would you actually get for someone who's new to sake?
I think I would pick this one.
Okay.
Because the taste would be more like white wine. Especially Riesling.
That's great. So here we go. That's a great example. So now that we are talking about buying sake, you might be curious about price points. The world of sake, the price points, the bandwidth is not as wide as with wine. With wine, you could get your 4-pound bottle of Yellowtail at your corner shop, but you could also get, a 200k bottle of Lafitte if you could afford it. With sake, the ingredients are not as cheap, so you can't really find sake as cheap as the Yellowtail that I mentioned, but no way are you ever going to find a sake as expensive as the bottle of Lafitte. Anything on the cheaper side of the spectrum within sake is going to be table sake. So table sake is usually produced by larger corporations with lots of machinery at their disposal. They have the economies of scale. They are using cheaper ingredients, and they're even adding additives. So they're capable of keeping things cheaper. The more expensive you get, you're getting into the premium world of sake. And within the premium world, it's not really that one sake that's more expensive than another is better. It's more so a reflection on the ingredients used as well as the style. In terms of ingredients, let's say the rice. Some sake-specific rice are more expensive than others. So for this one, Omachi rice, while it being absolutely delicious and gives such great character to this sake, it's harder to grow than some other sake-specific rice, so the price point's a little bit more on the expensive side. In terms of style, while I did recommend Ginjo and Daiginjo styles, again, I'm so sorry, but they are a little bit on the more expensive side, simply because in order to achieve this elegant style of sake, brewers are having to polish or mill away the rice grains to a very small percentage of their original size. So you're having to work with more rice, and you need a lot more precision and skill in order to work with such small rice grains. But if you ask me, I think paying for actual skill, for more expensive ingredients, more time and effort put into brewing, I think those are great reasons for paying for something. It's not really about branding, it's not really about the market skewing prices. With sake, usually 90% of the time, what you paid for is very much a good reflection on how it's brewed, with what, so you're getting definitely your money's worth.